Welcome to Crisis in Perception. Okay, let's talk about that strange, quiet feeling a lot of us have at work. You know, the nagging suspicion that if your job just disappeared tomorrow, the world would keep spinning just fine. Maybe it would even be a little better. It's a thought we don't usually say out loud, especially when the pay is good. So, what is really going on here?
To really get to the heart of this, I've got a story for you. And honestly, it sounds like it's made up, but it's absolutely true. And it explains everything. All right, so picture this. You're a lecturer at a university. You're in your office, and suddenly, crash, the whole shelving unit just gives way. Books are everywhere. It's a total mess. Obviously, you call for help. So a carpenter shows up. Awesome, right? Progress. Well, not so fast. He takes one look at the room, sees the books on the floor, and says, "Nope, can't go in there. It's a safety hazard." He literally can't do anything until the books are picked up.
Okay, fine. So the lecturer spends all this time stacking up the books neatly. He calls the Buildings and Grounds department back and says, "All right, all clear, ready for the carpenter." And then nothing. He calls every single day, and the carpenter just never comes back.
And this is where the story goes from just frustrating to completely absurd. The lecturer realizes that there's a specific guy in the department whose entire job is to apologize for the carpenter not showing up. That's it. Every day, this perfectly polite man would get on the phone, listen to the complaint, and say how sorry he was. That was his whole function. And that just lays it all bare, doesn't it? Instead of using their resources to fix the actual problem, the broken shelf, the organization created a whole new, totally pointless job just to manage the fact that the problem wasn't being fixed. Now, that story might sound like a crazy one-off, but it's actually a perfect window into a much, much bigger phenomenon. And luckily for us, this phenomenon has a name. We're talking about a bullshit job. And let's be clear, this isn't about jobs that are just bad or boring or low-paying. A bullshit job can be really well-paid, high status, you name it. The one thing that defines it is that it's fundamentally pointless. Even the person doing it secretly knows that it doesn't really need to exist. This idea comes from Bullshit Jobs by anthropologist David Graeber. So how on earth do these jobs get created in the first place? And maybe more importantly, how do they start to multiply? Let's look at another real-world example to see exactly how this poison spreads. So let's meet Chloe. She got hired for a very fancy-sounding job. Strategic Dean. Sounds important, doesn't it? Well, here's the catch. The job came with absolutely no budget and no actual power to change anything. So what did she actually do all day? Her main job was to write strategic vision documents. Now, if you've ever worked in a big organization, you know exactly what these are. They're these glossy reports full of buzzwords about synergy and stakeholders that everyone pretends are important, and then they just disappear into a folder, never to be seen again. And this is the kind of environment where these jobs just explode. I mean, think about it. You've got a super simple task like getting a course syllabus uploaded, but somehow it gets tangled up in this crazy 8-step approval process. Every step creates another notification, another email, another box to check, creating work for the sake of work. This is the fertile ground where these jobs grow. But here's where it gets truly wild. To make Chloe's strategic role seem legitimate, they gave her a whole team, a personal assistant, a project manager, you name it. The problem was, since her job was pointless, she now had to invent pointless tasks for them to do all day long. Because in so many organizations, your importance isn't measured by what you accomplish, but by how many people you have working underneath you. Chloe herself had a term for what was happening. It's not just one pointless job existing in a vacuum. Nope. It needs other pointless jobs to support it, to report to it, to justify it. It creates this whole chain reaction of uselessness. She called it bullshit proliferation. So after all that, what are we supposed to take away from this? Why is it so important to put a name to this feeling? Here's the most important part. That feeling, that sense of meaninglessness you might have about your work, it's not a personal failing. It's not because you're lazy or ungrateful. It's a symptom of a real structural problem with how we've built the modern economy. We've created these vast systems that are more about feeding the bureaucracy than about doing anything actually useful. So I'll leave you with a question to chew on. Now that you have the language for it, where do you see it? The meetings that could have been an email? The reports no one will ever read? The endless loops of approvals? Where do you see pointless tasks in your world?
If you'd like a deeper, more detailed discussion of this topic, check out the full Crisis in Perception deep dive, linked in the description.
If this explainer sparked questions or ideas, feel free to comment with topics or books you'd like us to explore next.
Stay curious and keep questioning what shapes your perception.